Noam Chomsky is arguably the most famous and influential linguist that ever lived. He revolutionized the field of linguistics when he published his book Syntactic Structures in 1957. He has continued to make significant contributions to the field of linguistics for the last 50 years. In this presentation, we will discuss what the field of linguistics was like prior to Chomsky's contributions. Then, discuss how Chomsky's approach and ideas changed the field of linguistics. And finally, explore at least one other significant contribution that Chomsky made. Before Chomsky, linguistic theories such as those of Leonard Bloomfield dominated the field. Linguists of the time were focused on the structural approach, that is, describing sounds and categorizing them by function. This approach is concerned with surface structure. Surface structure, as defined in our textbook, means referring to an actual utterance that can be broken down by conventional methods of syntactic analysis. When Chomsky came along, his way of thinking was much different. He believed that structure was only the tip of the iceberg, and that linguistics was much more a psychological science. In an article titled Chomsky's Revolution in Linguistics, published in the New York Review of Books in 1972, author John Searle states, "Psychology, for example, he claims is the science of mind. To call psychology a behavioral science is like calling physics a science of meter readings. One uses human behavior as evidence for the laws of the operation of the mind, but to suppose that the laws must be laws of behavior is to suppose that the evidence must be the subject matter." In other words, the sounds and structures of language are the meter readings. The real science lies deeper than that, in the mind. Chomsky's belief that linguistics is based on the deeper meaning is a reference to deep structure. The textbook defines deep structure as referring to a highly abstract level of language that represents the basic meaning of a sentence. In this sense, one could say that the deep structure is the input, and the surface structure is the output. Chomsky also believed that human beings learned a language, especially as children, because of an innate ability to do so. We were not taught language by memorizing sounds and rules, but through only a minimal input. Another significant contribution Chomsky made to the field of linguistics is his work in Principles and Parameters. This idea relates to the framework of grammar and how language is generative. English and Japanese may appear very different to the non-linguist, but in study, we can identify many commonalities in the grammar structures. For example, both languages contain verb phrases and noun phrases, verbs being the head of verb phrases and nouns being the head of noun phrases. In the structure of different languages, the head may appear first or last. In his book, Chomsky, Ideas and Ideals, author Neil Smith explains that principles and parameters can be thought of like a bank of switches that may be set in either of two positions. In this way, we can explain how different languages follow the same universal grammar rules. The sentence structure in English is subject, object, verb, with a parameter dictating head-first structure. Japanese, on the other hand, has a sentence structure subject, verb, object, with a parameter that dictates head-last. Chomsky's ideas of principles and parameters, as well as his other work, contribute to an idea of generative grammar. According to the textbook, generative grammar is a finite set of rules that could hypothetically produce an infinite number of utterances. In conclusion, Chomsky realigned the field of linguistics from a focus on structure to a focus on deeper meaning. Chomsky continued to make significant contributions to the field of linguistics, Principles and Parameters being just one of them.